Greetings and welcome to the Diablo 4 video. Today we're going to talk about the PTR that is upcoming, the 2.3.0 PTR coming on May 27 and lasting until June 3rd. And here's a what do you need to know for that PTR. Blizzard released this blog post after the live stream yesterday, which ran for like, I don't know, almost 2 hours, including Q&A. So we got really some interesting stuff, and I'm gonna try to walk through some of it, not all of it. You can also read it on your own pace, depending, like, for example, what class you play, what interests you the most, but I'm trying to touch on the most interesting topics. So as you can see here, it runs from May 27 to June 3. PTR is for testing, and they want a lot of feedback. So we have like a week of testing. We can give them feedback. They prefer it over the official forums, but I think they also sometimes read like Reddit or something. But Reddit is pretty negative, as I saw again, like since the live stream, there was like some negative stuff there. But I think this is really good stuff, and it will again make Diablo 4 better and the best version it will be after the launch of the next big patch or next season. So what is the theme of it? Theme is Horadric spells, or like Horadric something. They haven't touched on the actual story part of it, but we will be getting in some way or another Horadric spells that we can customize. So you can build your own spell, which will be attached to one of your existing skills and will always like then fire up when you use that skill. It has some cooldown. It depends on what you're crafting there and what you're attaching, but it can look like something like this. And the interface, yes, it looks like similar to what we've seen before in terms of like the seasonal interface, but that's really that bad? I mean, you don't want like a whole disruption of it, and you want to have a familiar feel by having something new. I actually really love these artworks. I think, like from the icons, I think these are an improvement in terms of like the quality and like the coloring and the shadowing here. So like for example, this one, we know this from the season 8 boss pose, it's like Flesh Reaper's Disruption, but here it looks like kind of more defined and more pronounced. In any case, you have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 catalyst spells. These are really the spells that will be casting when you attach it to one of your 6 skills on your bar. You can see here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slots. You can only slot one of these catalysts, and it will be equivalent to the spell on your action bar. Like for example, if you put it on the number 6, it will be right here, will be attached to the meteor. And then the other gems right here will boost up and modify your spell or like change it. These bigger like kind of opals right here are resembling different elements. So it's fire, shadow, ice, poison, and lightning. You can also see this little icon here. And then your signature spell, or like your catalyst right here, or let's say Horadric spell, will deal additional like elemental damage, depending on the element you slotted into this big opal right here. And then you can also attach like smaller things right underneath. So it's like the basic gist of it, and I think it's kind of cool that you can get like your own or like, you know, craft or customize your own spell, and then it's attached to one of yours, so you can also determine how often you want to cast it. And yeah, it comes with a cooldown. For example, we can look at one of these catalysts, so this main source of power for the Horadric spell. Also says here they have their own cooldown, lucky hit, and also rank 10 bonus. And it will activate of a specific action bar skill based on the interface slot they are placed into, is what I just talked about. And your action bar skill will glow with purple magic while your catalyst is available to activate. So it's also kind of neat to have like a visual space right here to show that it's special. And then, for example, there's like Celestial Search. That's what the one they showed off. Awaken or Oracular Rune that pulls in all surrounding enemies. A torrent of stars follow that randomly strike the area 20 times for damage each. And then it has a cooldown, and you can also already see if you rank it up, it has lower cooldown, and I suspect with cooldown reduction, you can even lower that down. It has a lucky hit chance, and then at rank 10, it also gives you another bonus to the ability. I don't think they showed that here. Just kind of trying to find that spell. They didn't show it off right here, but you can check out the live stream if you want to see it. In any case, these are, again, I don't want to talk about everything because this video would also be then 2 hours long. But you have like different, let's say, base spells that you can attach to your skills, and there's like 5 or 6 of them. What's also kind of neat is like these small summoning orbs that you can have. I think they call it, what do they call it? Actually, cannot see it. Here, Cosmic Anomaly. So it manifests up to 5 anomalies, as you can see here. It's 5 pieces that emit particles which deal damage for 4 seconds. But then if you activate it, like if you use your skill that is attached to it, you command them to converge into a circle, into the place where you attack, and they will implode, dealing damage per detonation. What I'm really interested about is these summon. Like, are these 5 summons contributing to any skill or effect that gives you more damage? For example, the more summons you have, I think Necromancer has something like that. Or like there's like a rune that gives you more offering per summon that you have. So I'm really curious if these are counted towards summons. That would be interesting. But in general, they look really cool. And infusions are the ones like the opals, the big ones. Like for example, you can say that your spell catalyst now deals fire and or burning damage. It destroys enemy structures. They showed like, for example, it destroys the vault from the Waller affix of the enemy's champions, or like these pillars that some of them spawn. And also has a chance to ignite the ground beneath. I don't know why it's only 10%, but there you go. Dealing burning damage. And then while equipped, your fire damage bonus is equal to that of your highest damage type bonus. So they kind of want to give you another source of elemental damage. And you don't need to build towards it in terms of like, oh, I need to build fire damage now to make this better. No, you can build any damage bonus, is what I understood. Highest damage type bonus could also be critical strike damage bonus, vulnerable damage bonus. And then this will give you, like for example, if you have 1000 vulnerable damage, it's your highest damage type bonus. This will give you 1000 fire damage bonus. And it seems like it gives you that just on top, like not only for this skill, but like just over every skill that you have. So that's kind of interesting. That means, for example, you could, as a sorcerer, if you want to do fire damage or burning damage or whatever, usually we build fire damage because that's on the tempering. But now we can build vulnerable damage and max that out, and then also get the fire damage bonus at the same time. So this is kind of interesting to keep in mind. And also at rank 5, they have like some things like deactivate monster chilling winds effects for 5 seconds. Like you know, like these affix for elite monsters that have like these chilling winds. They can destroy that, and every one of these what they call this infusions have that. Like for example here, like deactivates monster summoner effects, deactivates monster explosive effects. It's kind of neat, and I think it plays into the Nightmare Dungeon sigil affixes that sometimes make it so that guaranteed elite affixes will spawn, and then you can like, oh, I'm gonna slot in like the Smoldering Ember because I don't want to deal with chilling winds or something. That's just a secondary thing. I don't think a lot of people will bother with that, but I might be wrong. And then there's more, again, like there's different elements to this. And then you have Arcana. These are the small gems that will also boost up your well, your character, but also your main catalyst, your main spell. Like for example, we have here damage from your catalyst is up to a 35% to immobilize, and catalyst will daze enemies. And I think I saw something that was really, really cool. Let's see if I can find it again. You also have like magic and rare. There's like some rarity to them. And this one is interesting, effect size. So it goes up to 50%. So your spell will be bigger. And vulnerable, if you need a source of vulnerability. This one is interesting. Potentially, your catalyst destroys enemy barriers and knocks them down after removal. So if you deal with a Nightmare Dungeon affix where the monsters have barrier, you can slot this in because you can just, you know, slot them in on the fly. You don't need to pay any resource or anything. And you can just say, oh, well, I'm doing like this, maybe escalating Nightmare Dungeon, which I'll talk about in a second. And they always have monster barriers, but I don't want that. And then I just put this one in, right? So, yeah. There was one. There's legendary ones that do really a lot. Let's look at the one that I saw. Yeah, there's for example this execute effect, and your catalyst gains a specialized execute effect for non-boss enemies with 10% or less life, and they vary it per different catalyst. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 catalysts, as I speak earlier. And for example, here the Moon's Impact executes non-boss enemies with 10% or less life. Successful executions reduce your cooldowns by 2 seconds. And if it also reduces the cooldown of the Celestial Surge itself, that's kind of cool, because then you can have it more often. And like the Disintegrate, for example, it always executes, but there's like a secondary effect that's different per catalyst. No? This threshold is doubled for non-elite enemies, for example. Here, successful executions reset it, like reset the propulsion, which is kind of cool. And then we have here we launch additional waves towards executable non-boss enemies to execute them. Like, there's like different stuff, so there's really a lot to go into, and it's really kind of a depth to it, which you need to look. But what is like sounds cool to you? What sounds the most appealing? What helps you build the most? So that's kind of really nice. So how do we get these new things? So there is something called Horadric Strongrooms, and Horadric Strongrooms are micro dungeons within a nightmare dungeon. Right now they're saying these, I think they only can be there at Torment 1, but maybe I'm mixing it up. It just says increase your difficulty level or Torment here, so maybe they can just, from the beginning, from the start, appear in dungeons, or nightmare dungeons rather. Yeah, it's within nightmare dungeons. And then there's a chance in the nightmare dungeon that there will be a portal appearing, or like some room where you need to kill some monsters, and then there's a portal, and it gets you to the strong room, which you then can pick out a series of tests, or one test, or more than one. It depends on the difficulty. In the higher the difficulty, the more you can choose. And I suspect it doesn't really say here that it will come with like some, some upside in terms of loot and some downside in terms of like difficulty. We already saw that in the root holes of season 7. There was like also small micro dungeons which just exploded in loot, and more than you can carry sometimes. So it was a bit of an issue actually. But they also had like these downsides and upsides, so they are like pick and choose every few like parts of the dungeon, if you remember that. It's also similar to, let's say, the Infernal Hordes, where you pick something that gives you like a boon and a bane, and then you have a certain time frame to slay monsters, and hopefully this will be a lot of monsters, like really a massive monsters, but we don't know yet how many. And you get Horadric Attunement, and with the Horadric Attunement you like make your rewards better and bigger, and then once you complete like this strong room, this timed event, you need to fight the boss that spawns, and then you can leave the strong room. When you leave the strong room, then you have the option to select a Horadric Cache, which scales its rewards based off the amount of Horadric Attunement earned within the strong room. So basically, you go into this micro dungeon, you pick out like a boon and bane or whatever, then you kill a lot of monsters as much as you can, hopefully auto picking up these Horadric Attunements. You kill a boss, and you get out, and you get kind of showered with loot, I'm suspecting. Next up is Escalating Nightmares. Nightmares are a series, but it's 3 actually to be exact. 3 nightmare dungeons that are chained together. So you start with one, you go into the next immediately, and then into the third one. And the affixes that come with it, the positive affixes, like which give you some benefits, as well as the negative affixes, which, like, for example, makes enemies stronger. Like, for example, elites are always poison enchanted, or like we have, I don't know if we still have the things like Drifting Shade or something. I hope not, because it's really annoying. But it will come with you, and then in the third nightmare dungeon you have like 3 boons, 3 positive affixes, 3 negative affixes, right? And then if you complete the third sequential nightmare dungeon, you'll be transported to Astaroth's Lair. So you have like a boss at the end, like a bigger, better boss. You can kill Astaroth again if you have it, or if you have already completed the campaign, which you probably should at this point. You know Astaroth, they redesigned this boss fight to be, I guess, more engaging or whatever. And yeah, here's a few pictures. And yeah, like for all realms, like it's not only seasonal. In general, they did new Nightmare Dungeon affixes, especially like the boons, the positive ones. There's like a guaranteed Horadric Strongroom, for example. Again, it's not guaranteed. It's like something called like Treasure Breach. It's here explained. For example, a number of gilded gremlins will invade the dungeon. I don't know if these are goblins or something else. What is really interesting right here is Forgotten Wisdom. You really want Forgotten Wisdom, I think, because experience will have a chance to spawn on kill. These are little bubbles that spawn, but an experience well will spawn somewhere in the dungeon. So I don't know if you remember, but experience wells were a thing in the first season and season 0 of Diablo 4. Basically, they give you experience. Well, Diablo 4, we're gonna go here. It's these things. And you could click on it and they give you up to a certain amount, they give you a 20% experience boost as far as I remember. Or 15% as shown here. I don't know if this is accurate or like how old are these pictures, because they removed the experience well. They were not like really working or whatever and they removed it, but now they are back. So you can probably stack these up. If the sigil powder that we get is plentiful as before, you can try to target craft these affixes or these nightmare sigils with the affix of having Forgotten Wisdom. And this is kind of something that excites me a bit, because I don't want to only do pits to do my experience run, to do my level up. I want to do something else. And Nightmare Dungeons is the way they do it now. It seems like refreshing, seems like more of a different experience and every time than the pit, for example. So I hope this will really give you a significant amount of XP. We don't know yet how the experience will be, how good it will be, if they change it or anything, but yeah, overall I think this is very interesting. Also here, increase in experience modes on kill. I'm not really sure what that means. What experience modes are they talking about? Because they also say experience will have a chance to spawn on kill, and here experience modes are increased. But we will see. Then also we get Horadric Jewels, so we also get a new piece of equipment, or rather something to slot in. And if you look at this, they are really, really powerful. They are akin to the occult gems, but they also sometimes come with a downside. For example, we have here Idol from Below, which is really powerful. Like on the baseline, you always get 120 armor and 6% resistance to all elements, which on the resistance part is pretty low actually, but on the armor is pretty nice. And then here it says you gain 6% primary core stat, 8% maximum life, and unhindered, so you can walk through the enemies like anytime you want. However, you will be hunted in Sanctuary's darkest places by Jewel Guardians who were entombed to protect this relic. So this will be interesting, like how often will they spawn? Do they drop anything? Do they give like experience or something? Because in general, if you're just blasting and killing, there probably won't be a problem to kill these Jewel Guardians. But if there is a benefit to it, like maybe a drop or something, then this is actually an upside and not a downside. Then we also got some others like Seal of Power, while you have 2 or more Arcana from the School of Power equipped. Gain 35% movement speed and 15% critical strike chance. So these Arcanas that I showed before, like these gems that you can slot into your spell, they actually have a school of school of magic to them, like a tag. They have a tag, and there's like power, and there's like some others. They actually don't tell us right now what are these, but yeah, these also function with these seals, with these like gems. It's a lot of gems, I think. There's a lot of gems in this season. But of course they call it different. I mean, they call them jewel here. Then here, for example, your Catalyst deals 100% more damage if you want to like lean into that. However, you lose control over Horadric Spellcraft, causing your Catalyst to inherit infusions randomly. So the infusions are the ones that they do like, they make your Catalyst do like fire damage, cold damage, or whatever. This can be a downside, but also an upside. Because if you look at the one that I showed before with the 5 little things swirling around you, where is it? Here. So these are the 5 anomalies. And if you have that jewel that makes it so the infusions are random, then these can also be 5 randoms. And you can, on chance you can have a burning, you can have a fire lightning, you can have them all at one place, because every time these little things spawn, it will be randomly chosen which infusion they have. So you can have like a mix of elemental damage and also a mix of these upsides. So for example, one could be it destroys enemy structures actually, and you get this fire damage bonus, and one could be you get a shadow damage bonus, and enemies hits will deal reduced damage. So this is actually kind of an upside depending on like what catalyst you're playing and what are you going for. So there are different jewels, actually quite a lot, I think like 15 or something, or 14. They're kind of cool. This just plain gives 25% cooldown reduction for the catalytic skill. So yeah, you can just look through them and see what you like best. So then there are no more unique items. Of course, one unique item per class. They're not adding any new legendary aspects this time because they are reworking some of the old ones that are not being used, which is kind of the same thing then. It is refreshing and it will not dilute the legendary affix or legendary pool. Because then if you just add legendaries, legendary aspects, and just neglecting the ones that are not working, then you're just adding more and more and more, and then it just gets like this big pool and you really have a hard time finding the one that you want. So I kind of support the decision that they are looking at the legendary aspects that are not working out well and they are trying to improve them. Anyways, for the unique items, and yeah, read this at your own pace in terms of like what class you like. Barbarian gets one that will give all basic skills cleave, which will be interesting because through the board they improved basic skills by like 2 to 3 times of the damage that they did before. So they made basic skills way better now. We'll see how this plays out. Druid gets something with poison. I don't know why they're sticking to poison so much. I don't know. I don't like it, but okay. It's a unique 200 weapon, so it will fill out the whole weapon slot for Druid. And then Pulverize deals up to 400% of its damage as poisoning damage. Pulverizing this poisoning damage puddle that forms splashes an additional 20 to 40% of poison's puddle's total damage. Yeah, I think this sounds too weak on paper, but we'll see how it plays out. Necromancer though gets me excited to maybe playing a Necromancer next season. I haven't played a Necromancer in yet. I just started it sometimes, but I haven't really played it. And the Hand of Nas actually gives me Skeletal Mage damage, attack speed, maximum life, and Skeletal Mage mastery. And then the unique effect reads sacrificing both Skeletal Warriors and Golems grants an additional Skeletal Mage for each minion sacrificed. When a Skeletal Mage attacks enemies 25 times without dying, it upgrades to a Skeletal Archmage. Skeletal Archmages teleport to safety when attacked, and their attacks occasionally shatter on impact, dealing 50 to 100% increased damage to the target and up to 3 additional targets. So you will have an army of skeletal mages akin to or the same number of skeletal mages as you would have skeletal warriors, or like the one golem or something that you have. So you only have skeletal mages, and then they will become archmages that survive. They try to survive by teleporting away when they get attacked. And they also have an AoE attack. So this will be very interesting because in Diablo 3 I actually enjoyed playing the version of Necromancer with just putting like these skeletal mages that I think they were archers then or something with the rune. In any case, this kind of excites me. I'm just not sure if you combine that with the unique pants, because the unique pants gives you golem passives and also boosts your golem, but you won't have a golem. So I'm confused how to build this, because also I never played Necromancer, so thinking about maybe playing Necromancer. We'll see. Rogue gets a helmet. Unique helmets always compete with like Harlequin's Crest, they compete with Air of Perdition, they compete with Call of the Nameless. So it's a really, really tough spot. And what they are giving is a unique helm for Flurry. Max life, skill ranks of Flurry, movement speed, armor, all good. Okay, it's nice. But these stats alone don't beat out Air of Perdition. because Arrow of Perdition has all of that, but no armor, and it has like crit strike, and it has no max life, but it has lucky hit chance, right? Unique power reads, you can now overexert yourself while casting Flurry, spending 10% life when you don't have enough energy. Spending life to cast Flurry increases the damage by 30-50% and your attack speed by 50% for 5 seconds. Developer's note, Flurry will fail to cast when the player has neither enough energy or health available. Interesting concept. Especially the 50% attack speed part is something that Air of Perdition cannot provide. And they showed off a little bit of a clip, and it was like really fast. The attack was really, really fast. But I don't know, again, if it beats out Air of Perdition, because Air of Perdition also gives you skill ranks to core skills, it gives you 60% more damage, it gives you like other useful stats. Why would I want this over Air of Perdition? Because of the attack speed. But if I can get the attack speed somewhere else, then I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. Maybe we try a Flurry build on the PTR. Then it also gets a new unique amulet, also a very competitive slot. And it's about Hydras, and it's really, really cool because Hydra is now a core skill and always summons a 3-headed Hydra whose attacks explode impact. So we have an AoE on the Hydra. For each head above 3 that it would have had, that's what a sentence, right? The Hydra instead grows larger and deals 50-100% increased damage. For each head, it deals 50-100% increased damage. If I read that right, if you have like a 4-headed Hydra would have a 4-headed, it's still a 3-headed Hydra, but it will increase its damage by 100%. And this amulet also reads casted Hydras have +2 heads, so you already get 200x more damage. So this is huge, and then you can temper more heads onto it, which basically increases the damage always by 100%, 100%, 100%. So this might be busted actually, since it also gives you the really necessary AoE attack. And now I remembered what I wanted to damage. I think it was here. What I wanted to show you is here, for example, there is Reverie Horn. After you injure or kill an enemy, your summons are empowered, growing larger and dealing 30% more damage for 4 seconds. This is very strong also for Summon Necro. There was something about... I cannot find it right now. Aura? Ah, here. Fractured Core. Your Catalyst deactivates monster damage resistance aura effects for 2.5 seconds, but you take 10% more stacking damage for the same time. So this is also made for summoning builds, and that, well, I was thinking about it for Hydra, because Hydra right now has a problem that it, first of all, it's single target, and second of all, it's not targeting the damage resistance aura monsters. So you will have a really, really bad time if there's the damage resistance aura monster, which happens a lot. And this one is the bread and butter. This one will deactivate the damage resistance aura effect whenever you use your Catalyst. So it also improves the seconds on it per rank. I think it's like 5 ranks, so you will get 5 seconds of it. So you will just make sure that your Catalyst will cast every 5 seconds, and this will be glorious. And if it works with the little cosmic anomalies, which manifest every 5 seconds and deal damage over 4 seconds, and you have like more than one, then this should always be up. So I think summon builds are eating very, very good if this all works out. So I'm gonna try this, and Hydra seems really, really cool. And lastly, the Spiritborn gets like Balasan's Maxldatl. I don't know why they always do this with the words of the Spiritborn Unix. But it will boost like Bastion, and it will give you another poison damage. They really seem to love poison damage. I don't know why they love poison damage so much, but each attack damages close enemies for a percentage of your thorns, and also deals 100% of this damage as poison damage, so you can build into thorns even more. And then each time you retaliate with thorns for 5 seconds, the poison damage is increased even. So you're building thorns and poison. So then they talk about features offered in the testing. We have like PTR boost, how to provide feedback, how to install the PTR, all the same things. And then we have a huge patch notes. So all above is just, you know, what is coming with the PTR. And then of course the patch notes themselves, which will, well, change also the base game. Or the Vessel of Hatred game in terms of Spiritborn, but as you can see on the skills, it's, for example, this is the Spiritborn, they are buffing all the basic skills like damage increased, damage from mortar increased, damage time. Like this is like 3x the damage, and this goes for all classes. As well as they are changing or bringing every key passive in line, like trying to kind of balance them throughout. I don't know if they are succeeding with that, because they said something like, oh, if it has like a generic damage multiplier, they want to cap it at 75%, but then there are other multipliers that are not generic but specific, like burning damage with combustion from the sorcerer, and then they do any other kinds of cap here. But I guess through the board they want to cap, and they don't want to have key passive anymore that can infinitely scale in theory. So this guy going here, I'm not interested in Spiritborn. If you do, then you can read this on your own pace. There's also some other loot updates for the rune drops. The drop chance of legendary runes has been slightly increased, as well as lair bosses have additional small chance of dropping a legendary rune. So legendary runes were really scarce in the season 8, or are currently. And all Undersea runs now reward at least one rune. And I did a 99 runs of Tribute of Harmony. You can check that out on my channel. You can see what that yields you. And all of this will be better next time and will drop more on better runes. And they're bringing back seasonal Nightmare Dungeon rotation. I don't think we had that in the last 1 or 2 seasons. As far as I remember, I just got any. Maybe I was wrong, and maybe I just, you know. And it's kind of weird because here they're saying like these are the seasonal nightmare dungeons, and then in the end they are saying this is a seasonal rotation. So these are way more. So I'm not sure what's going on, which one of these are actually happening. In any case, we have a lot of balance updates. I don't want to go through all of them. Again, they are posting here the new uniques, and then you have like some changes to the uniques that are improving basic skills, because they are improving the basic skill core damage. They are changing the uniques that are not too strong anymore. And also, again, like every class gets a basic skill adaptation or a change that they do more damage with basic skills, which also might help through the leveling process. And then some small changes to some other skills. If we go to the Rogue, which we've played in Season 8, we have the same thing. Then also the Dance of Knives gets kind of a nerf, because now you need more meters to regain your charges, and they said this will slightly increase the movement speed requirement needed to make Dance of Knives infinite, so you probably need 200% movement speed now to make it infinite instead of like 190 or something. Death Trap gets a huge nerf, probably nerf to the ground in some ways, but well, they want us to play Flurry and they want us to play Poison Trap. Interesting change on Concealment, because now Concealment, if you break it, it causes all skills for 4 seconds to be guaranteed critical strikes and make enemies vulnerable for 3 seconds. This seems like a huge buff. So you don't have to spam Concealment. You only have to use Concealment every 3 to 4 seconds, and then you have guaranteed critical strikes, which is kind of insane. And then, as you mentioned, the key passives, like for example, Close Quarters Combat was one that was infinitely scaling, and here they cap it at 90%. Precision is capped at 360. Alchemical Admixture, which nobody was using and is really bad, is capped at 150. Okay. Victimize is also capped at 300. Don't know why. Legendary Aspects. They also did a little bit of changes here. Infiltrators is interesting, because now Poison Trap no longer breaks stealth and triggers no cooldown or arm time while you are in stealth. That's already a given. And then all Poison Traps activate when you exit stealth and begin Poison Traps cooldown. And then Poison Traps cooldown is reduced by 10 to 50%. So you don't get an additional cooldown anymore. but you get a reduced cooldown actually. So this might be a more fluid gameplay for anybody who enjoys infiltrator gameplay with poison trap. And what was interesting is volatile shadows actually was really increased shadow imbuement damage. So shadow imbuement might be a thing, or more of a thing next season. Bursting venoms was interesting because now lucky hit, poison imbued skills have up to a 15 to 35% chance to deploy a poison trap while you have poison trap equipped. So this might actually be the delivery method of poison trap in the next season. We are stacking up poison imbuement. We're stacking up like the the chance to cast the charges of poison imbuement, and then we are casting it to deploy poison trap. Eaglehorn was made better, Eyes in the Dark was made worse. We have some wording changes and some things on the Paragon board, like for example, Dance Macabre now is only 30% increased damage, but for all skills, or like for like our damage in total will be 30% more. So it's kind of easier to get it going. It's also less flavorful, but there you go. And yeah, there's more and more and more, but this video is already half an hour, which is already longer than I expected, but these are the highlights of the patch. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Good luck, have fun, and goodbye.